You should quit your job and become a housewife.
That's right, don't slack off.
My mother-in-law and husband treated me like a housekeeper and forced me to resign, even though he knew how much I loved my job. My husband, who said he liked me being passionate about my work, is no longer here. Something inside me has cooled down. You can still play happy family for now. At that moment, a certain sense of revenge sprouted within me. My name is Emma, and I'm 25 years old. I have been married to my husband Michael for almost a year. We are both busy working and do not have children. Nevertheless, we live together peacefully every day. I met Michael when I went on a sales call for work. I work as a designer for a small company and do my own sales.
You really love your job, don't you? If it's okay with you, I'll give you some advice. How about going out to eat next time?
He spoke to me because I kept going to sales without giving up. I refused, saying, "I'm just here to work, so I can't go out to eat." But I was gradually drawn to Michael, who was always kind enough to give me advice on my work. 3 months later, I asked Michael, "Would you go out with me?" We started dating as a result of me confessing to Michael. Even after we started dating, Michael always treated me like a gentleman, and I fell even more in love with him. So when Michael proposed to me like that, I accepted without hesitation.
Emma, will you marry me? Be by my side and support me.
Michael. Yes, I will. When my beloved proposed to me, I felt like I was on top of the world. However, I never thought that Michael's support would cause me so much pain. At that time, I had no idea. For about 6 months after we got married, even when I was busy with work, Michael took the initiative to help with the housework. Instead of me, who came home late, Michael prepared dinner for me. I'm sorry, Michael is tired too. Thank you so much. I apologized.
I did it today because I had time. You always do it for me, so don't worry about it. Besides, I fell in love with you, who work hard and love your job. So just be yourself.
He said that and smiled kindly. Michael, thank you. I'm so glad I could marry such a wonderful person. Every day, I savor the happiness of being with Michael. However, due to a certain event, this happiness would crumble. My father-in-law suddenly passed away. He collapsed at home and was taken to the hospital, but he never returned.
Dad, this can't be true.
My gentle and calm father-in-law's sudden death pushed both me and Michael to the depths of sorrow. My mother-in-law, who was now living alone, sold her house and moved into an apartment near us. When I heard that, I felt a little uneasy. My mother-in-law has old-fashioned ideas and doesn't change the idea that women should focus on housework and not work. She didn't like me from the beginning of our marriage. I had little involvement with my mother-in-law before because she lived in another county, but things are different now that she has moved to the neighborhood. Michael felt sorry for me and said,
My mother seems to be worried about living alone for the first time. She is getting older, so I'm worried about her health too. If something happens, I want you to help my mother.
That's right, I thought. It's only been a short time since my father-in-law passed away, so I'm worried. I nodded firmly. Yes, if there's anything I can do to help, please let me know. I hope this will be an opportunity to get closer to my mother-in-law even a little bit. My thoughts were easily shattered.
What is this dish? The nutritional balance is off.
My mother-in-law exclaimed in a high-pitched voice upon seeing the freshly cooked dinner.
This is why working women are terrible. Michael, let's eat the dinner I made.
Michael, lying on the sofa, didn't seem to care about his mother's harsh words towards me and replied with a simple,
Okay.
My mother-in-law has been coming to our house almost every day for the past 2 weeks since moving into the neighborhood. She comes over suddenly and criticizes my housekeeping and meals. Even when I am being scolded by my mother-in-law, Michael doesn't help me at all. On the contrary, he says things like,
Mom has more experience as a homemaker, so you should listen to her. Her cooking is really delicious.
In a light tone. My mother-in-law praises Michael with a sweet voice.
Michael is such a kind child.
Seeing Michael's indifferent reaction to his mother's praise, I felt a sense of disgust. Could it be that Michael is a mama's boy? As an only child, Michael has received all of his mother's love, and I knew that he also adored his mother. Even so, this distance is too strange even when he becomes an adult. My mother-in-law said in a complaining tone. She didn't like the meal I made and started spreading the dinner she had made at home without permission. There were always only enough portions for my mother-in-law and Michael.
You should enter the household early and support your husband. It's a woman's job. How can you work and take care of the house at the same time? Don't you feel sorry for Mikey?
My mother-in-law shouted at me while they were having dinner together. Michael didn't take my side and just followed his mother's words.
Mom's cooking is the best after all,
he said while eating without even looking at me. This had been going on for 3 months, and I was gradually becoming reluctant to go home. Moreover, Michael had been spending more time at home lately. I was curious about why Michael was at home even on weekdays during the day, so I asked him.
Remote work has increased. That's why I'm at home more often.
Michael, who had more time at home, had teamed up with my mother-in-law and started complaining about me together. Now, working is the most enjoyable time for me. One day, I was fed up with my mother-in-law and Michael, who were bullying me. Suddenly, an unbelievable event happened to me. That day, I came home as usual, dragging my heavy feet. I was annoyed when I saw my mother-in-law's shoes at the entrance. Oh, she's here today too. I sighed and entered the living room, where I was shocked by what I saw. What's going on, Mom? In the living room, barrel bags and a large number of cardboard boxes, which seemed to belong to my mother-in-law, were piled up. I was stunned when Michael, who was watching TV on the sofa, spoke to me.
Oh, welcome back, Emma. Mom is going to live together here from today. I'm counting on you.
What? I didn't hear anything about that. When I replied, my mother-in-law, who was serving food in the kitchen, approached me.
You don't want to live with me? You're a cheeky daughter-in-law. Well, never mind. Emma, I'll train you from now on. You need to quit your job.
I opened my eyes wide at my mother-in-law's words. Why? I've been doing housework while working. Michael allowed me to do that too. Seeing me become emotional, my mother-in-law burst out laughing as if she had seen something funny.
What you're doing is playing house. That's not housework. Besides, you need to become our housekeeper. So quit your job and stay home all day. First, could you put away all the luggage I brought? And please polish my shoes.
I was stunned by my mother-in-law's attitude. What does she think of me? When I looked to Michael for help, he was grinning.
Mom, you can give her more orders. Emma, don't slack off. It's a great opportunity for you to learn from Mom. So, when are you going to quit your job?
I was shocked by Michael's words. Michael, you said you liked me because I work hard. And you know how much I love my job, right? I pleaded with Michael, but he sighed as if it was a hassle.
That's because I was young. Anyway, my mom taught me that being a good wife means serving your husband and mother-in-law. And Emma, you said you would support me, didn't you?
I felt something inside me cool down as Michael spoke without any malice. The Michael from back then is no longer here. I understand. But I have to hand over various things at work, so please wait until next month to quit. I said only that and began unpacking and polishing shoes as my mother-in-law had instructed. My mother-in-law and Michael looked satisfied as they watched me. They didn't even realize that a seed of revenge had sprouted inside me since I started living with my mother-in-law and had been obediently following their orders. I cleaned and prepared meals every day as my mother-in-law instructed, and if she didn't like something, I did it all over again. My mother-in-law looked satisfied with me doing housework without any resistance. However, I was steadily working towards revenge in the shadows. You can only be lazy like this for a while longer. And at the end of the month, my mother-in-law, grinning, asked me while I was doing housework.
Emma, you're quitting your job soon, right? When are you going to resign?
I replied in a cold voice. I'm not quitting my job. The housekeeper is quitting. When I said that clearly, my mother-in-law opened her mouth in surprise.
Huh? Emma, what are you talking about?
She seemed unable to keep up with the change in her usually obedient daughter-in-law. I smiled back at her and said, So, I'm not quitting my job, but I'm quitting as the housekeeper of this house. Mom, you're getting old, aren't you? Have you become hard of hearing? When I said that sarcastically, my mother-in-law's face gradually turned red with anger.
What? What did you say? How dare you speak to me like that?
My mother-in-law trembled with anger as I gave her a cold stare. You are no longer my mom. You are just a stranger.
What? What do you mean?
My mother-in-law furrowed her brow in confusion. Just then, Michael's voice rang out.
I'm home.
The living room door opened, and Michael walked in. He looked startled when he saw the strange atmosphere between me and my mother-in-law.
What are you two doing standing there?
He asked. As soon as she saw Michael, my mother-in-law ran over to him.
Mikey, listen. Emma was so mean to me. She said terrible things to me.
My mother-in-law, who had been so confident just a moment ago, now looked teary-eyed as she hid behind Michael.
What? What are you talking about?
Michael asked, trying to protect his mother. I felt disgusted by his actions. I couldn't stand this family's fake closeness anymore. This is perfect timing, Michael. I have something to tell you, I want a divorce. I said, clenching my fists tightly. Michael was surprised by my words and his eyes widened.
What? Why all of a sudden?
It's not sudden. I've been thinking about it for a long time. I don't need a mother-in-law who bullies me and a husband who supports her. I replied calmly. Michael laughed at me.
What, do you want me to beg you to stay? You're quitting your job soon, so you can't really get a divorce. You're just doing this to make me and my mom be nice to you.
As he spoke, my mother-in-law, who had been hiding behind him, peeked out and glared at me.
So, Emma, is that true? You can't do housework and you're a liar and a coward?
My mother-in-law sneered at me. Michael laughed along with her.
Mom, you're being too harsh, Emma. If you apologize now, we'll forgive you. Right?
The two of them laughed together, making snide remarks. But I didn't feel anything anymore. I smiled at them and said, Oh, come on, Michael. You're the one who quit your job, not me. As soon as I spoke, their laughter stopped. The living room fell silent, and an eerie atmosphere filled the air. My mother-in-law was the first to break the silence.
What are you talking about? What do you mean, Mikey?
Her small voice made Michael flinch. I kept smiling and said to Michael, Come on, Michael. Explain it to your beloved mom. It's terrible to keep secrets from each other when you're so close. Michael's face turned pale. Seeing Michael's state, my mother-in-law looked puzzled.
Mikey? What's going on?
She shook Michael's body, but he remained silent. I sighed and said, If it's hard for you to say, I'll explain it. I took a thick envelope out of the living room drawer and dumped its contents on the desk.
What the hell is that?
Ignoring Michael's obvious agitation, I spread out several photos of him in a suit, going to a casino during the day.
What is this? Mikey?
Michael turned pale and trembled. I looked at Michael and slowly spoke. You've been spending more time at home not because of remote work, but because you quit your job, right? On the days you left home saying you were going to work, you were actually going to the casino, weren't you? I thought it was strange and hired a private investigator. I found out right away. Michael was speechless and just trembled. My mother-in-law stood beside Michael, trying to protect him.
Emma, do you feel no shame for bullying your husband like this? There must be a reason for Mikey's behavior, right? I believe in Mikey.
My mother-in-law hugged Michael as she spoke. But Michael remained pale and looked down awkwardly.
You already know everything since you hired a private investigator, don't you?
Michael spoke with a heavy voice, and I nodded with a smile. Yes. If it's hard for you to say, should I explain it to your mother? Michael bowed his head and shook it.
No, I'll explain it myself.
His voice trembled slightly. My mother-in-law was the only one who couldn't follow the conversation and looked bewildered. Michael turned to her and bowed his head deeply.
Mom, I'm really sorry. I don't expect you to forgive me, but please let me apologize.
My mother-in-law was surprised by Michael's sudden action and covered her mouth with her hand. My mother-in-law cried out.
No, stop it, Mikey. What did Mikey do?
Michael spoke with a trembling voice, looking down.
I quit my job right after I started living with Mom. Didn't you say that Dad's inheritance had come in? And you sold our big family home, so I thought we wouldn't have any money problems. I took my mother's bankbook without permission and used it.
Michael's voice was barely audible, and he looked like he was about to cry. Meanwhile, my mother-in-law stood there with her mouth open, stunned.
Mikey, did you really lie to me?
Michael bowed his head and apologized.
I'm really sorry, Mom. I put my birthday as the PIN number, so I could withdraw money without permission. I'm so sorry.
I added insult to injury by saying, you started living with your mother for that reason, didn't you? So you bullied me to make up for it, didn't you? My mother-in-law's eyes widened in shock. My mother-in-law's body trembled with despair or anger as she said,
Mikey, did you really use me like that? I don't remember raising you to be that kind of person.
Michael apologized repeatedly.
I'm sorry, Mom.
I smiled and patted Michael's back. You don't have to apologize so much, Michael. Your mother has been lying for 25 years about buying food from the department's deli section and pretending it was homemade. So it's a tie, right, Mom? My mother-in-law turned to me with a start.
Wait, why are you bringing that up, Emma?
I found out by chance when I was investigating Michael. You know how you always plate the food you buy from the department's deli section and pretend it's homemade? Well, everyone knows. And the truth is, you're really bad at cooking. Several acquaintances have said so. I said with a laugh. My mother-in-law turned red and shook her head.
No, that's not true. Who said that?
She asked. I said with a smile. You seem to be hated by many people. Just by visiting a few acquaintances, I heard a lot of bad things about you. I'm starting to doubt your character. My mother-in-law held her head in her hands and slumped to the floor. Michael asked.
Did you lie? I thought that was my mom's cooking.
My mother-in-law replied.
What? What did you do? It's a crime. I'm not the one to blame here.
The two of them started arguing, which was a stark contrast to their previous good relationship. I couldn't take it anymore. Enough already. I yelled at them in a voice I had never used before. My mother-in-law and Michael stopped arguing and turned to me. I've had enough of your fake closeness. I don't need a mother-in-law who bullies me or a husband who betrays his mother and wife for money. Don't involve me in this, I said quickly and put the divorce papers on the desk with force. Fill this out right now. I'll take care of the rest.
Wait, Emma, I need you. You're not quitting your job, are you? I'll support you since you like your job. Let's try again.
Michael said, only thinking about himself even in this situation. I glared at him. Don't make me say it again. Fill this out right now. Michael couldn't say anything else and filled out the divorce papers with trembling hands. Well then, I'm leaving. You two liars can get along well, I said in a low, cold voice. I was surprised by my own tone. I left quickly with the divorce papers. There were no more shouts from the living room, only the sound of Michael and his mother crying in despair. After that, I immediately submitted the divorce papers to the court, and Michael and I were divorced without incident. Michael asked me to reconcile with him several times, but when I said, "If you contact me again, I'll hire a lawyer," he stopped contacting me altogether. I haven't been in touch with Michael or my ex-mother-in-law since then. According to what I heard from relatives, my ex-mother-in-law and Michael had a complete falling out after that and started living separately. Michael, who quit his job at an awkward time, couldn't find a new job and gave up on job hunting in less than 2 months. He now works part-time and struggles to get by every day. He's apparently trying to seduce many women, but there's no woman who wants to be with him now that he has no regular job and no sense of cleanliness. On the other hand, my ex-mother-in-law became distrustful of people after that and locked herself in her room. It seems that being betrayed by her beloved son and being spoken ill of by many acquaintances was too much for her to bear. A relative who felt sorry for her took her in, but she still hasn't left her room, and the relatives are discussing when to put her in the hospital. Well, it's a story that has nothing to do with me, who cut off ties with them. After that, I started living alone in another county. I switched to freelance designer work at that time, and the response was better than I expected, and sales skyrocketed. Now I can immerse myself in my work every day without stress. When I meet a man next time, I want to be with someone I can really trust. For now, I want to enjoy my time alone for a little longer.
How was this story? Please subscribe to my channel. See you in the next video.